Well, let's pick up on that fire. That announcement, of course, from the mayor of Joburg, Kabelo Gwamanda, earlier today after that fire in the Joburg CBD over the weekend. It comes while the Commission of Inquiry into the building, the Newzroom building in the middle of Joburg that occurred last year, that fire, that inquiry has heard testimony about how dangerous some buildings in Joburg are and about how they are a fire hazard. Of course, 76 people died in that fire last year. Jonathan Martin is a community group firefighter. He joins us now. Jonathan, good afternoon, and thank you for your time this afternoon. When people go into these buildings to fight fires, when we have a building like this, sometimes a hijacked building, what kind of situation are they facing?
Stephen, thanks for having me on the show. Well, the situation that we face when we get to those obviously differs from time to time. You never know what you're really going to when you get there, whether it's a hijacked building, whether it's a normal fire or building that is on fire that is occupied by shops or normal residents. So the biggest thing that we have to figure out when we get to a call, especially a structural fire like that, is we size up. So we get there, we see what the situation is, what the problem is, where the danger lies, what lives and what is at risk. Keep in mind that obviously us as the firefighters that go there, our safety is also a key priority. It doesn't help if we're injured, then we cannot assist where we should. So we size up that whole situation just to make sure that we know the key factors, where we've got to go, what we've got to do, and how we're going to get through this whole plan that we've got to implement to get the best benefits to sort the situation out.
I mean, there are proper rules that buildings are supposed to follow. You're supposed to keep stairways clear. You're supposed to have fire exits. The doors have to work. Things like that. I mean, do these buildings follow those rules?
Well, it obviously differs from building to building. With your hijack sort of building scenario, unfortunately not. There's no maintenance or any regulation that's followed in those buildings because of it being a hijacked building. So nobody goes out to go look at those buildings when they should. And that they just, the people that live inside of those buildings aren't aware of what should be done there in case something happens like we've experienced in the past. So that's where a person or even a person that lives in a building that is a hijacked building should take it upon himself just to think of a safety factor that maybe I should just try and find out, does this work? Does that work? In case, whether the building is or isn't, that eliminates that main risk where all these problems come into factor.
I imagine, I mean, a fire inspector going to one of these buildings, probably the only sort of sign of authority that's been in that building for a long time. People wouldn't welcome someone arriving there in a uniform. We've seen police try to go into these buildings in the past and being forced out.
Correct, yeah. I'm a fire investigator myself. So it does become a bit challenging when it gets to that. A lot of people feel that you're there for the wrong reason, where you're obviously there for the different reason to figure out what the problem was or the cause was. So that could get eliminated from where the situation started from. I think that might be a bit of intimidation maybe. I don't know exactly what happens at certain fires like that where what takes place afterwards or how those people stay in those buildings. But unfortunately, those are some of the things that we have to deal with that we are there to help, and a lot of the time they don't understand us being in a uniform means that we are there to help. We're not there to make anything worse for them.
The equipment that firefighters use, I mean, in a case like this, what kind of equipment would you need? This was quite a big fire over the weekend. Last year, that fire, of course, was a massive fire. You would need jackets. You would probably need an oxygen tank. You'd need all sorts of things.
Definitely. So with CGFA as an NPC, it took us actually 2 years to raise funds to get state-of-the-art rescue tools that we utilize. Example, the Jaws of Life. All our guys have their full bunker gear, which consists of your bunker pants, boots, jacket, your flash hood, your fire helmet, and your CO2, your backpack cylinder. These things are quite expensive when it comes to having the right equipment. PPE is the biggest thing that keeps us alive. That's why I say our safety is key priority, because if we go in without the incorrect stuff, all we land up is having a double recovery at the end of the day. So utilizing this to the best that we can is obviously big key in it. If you don't have the right stuff, our key is don't go in if you're not prepared to go in. We have all the stuff that's needed along with all the other services we work hand in hand with, from hoses to extinguishers to whatever we need or see when we size up that is necessary to use at that specific incident. Whether it's a vehicle accident, whether it's a fire, where it's getting a cat out of a tree, if you want to think about the most basic thing. So having the right equipment that is to standard, that protect you so that you can go in and obviously do the right job at the end of the day.
There's also been, as I understand it, for quite a long time, a shortage of fire engines in Joburg, and I remember the stories about them a couple of years ago. I haven't heard if that's been sorted out. Is that still the case? Is there a shortage of fire engines there? Authorities will sort of borrow fire engines from Tshwane or Kuruleni?
Depending on the situation. At the moment, I know there is a little bit of a shortage of fire engines within the city. They do move around from station to station where they are utilized, obviously, at a more central point, except if they're on an outer sort of boundary. I don't know what the process on that situation is. I can't comment on that. But hopefully we will be able to get back up to where we were, and we'll be able to service, or City of Joburg, sorry, not myself, will be able to service the city as they did before. They definitely are trying a lot with what they have. So it is quite a struggle. That is where we all step together and we all work together hand in hand to obviously get the right job done to provide a service for everybody.
Jonathan, it seems to me you've got really a very, very scary cocktail of ingredients here. You've got old buildings which have sort of been hijacked, I think I can use that phrase. You've got people in them who aren't living there because they want to live there. They're living there because they have to live there. They'll divide it up. They'll want some privacy, so they'll make structures for themselves inside, a sort of, imagine a shack in the middle of a hall kind of idea. You'll have people who lock doors at night. You'll have people who move furniture on staircases for various reasons. I don't know if anything's changed since the big fire last year. In other words, what I'm really worried about, and you probably spend your life worrying about it, is that we could have a big fire like that very easily again.
Well, they do pop up from time to time. Obviously, it's something that's not in a diary, so it doesn't. We can't say when it's going to happen. The only best thing that we can do is be prepared along to help and assist where we can. When something like that does strike, that we are on call or we are available to assist the City of Johannesburg with resources that they need, if they do need it. So it's almost like a standby that you just got to wait and be ready for when it does happen. It's not a nice thing to say that it will happen, but hopefully we don't like them to happen, and maybe looking at it in the future, if things were just done or maintained a little bit better, then I don't think this would happen that often.
You say it probably won't happen that often, but it seems that these things are very difficult to fight. We obviously need more resources. More fire engines would be a start, more personnel too.
Definitely, yeah. So the personnel is not the problem, I don't think. Obviously, I can't speak on this on the part of the city. The more engines that we have, the better. If there's a few privateers that have taken up a role to assist as well, that have funding, that have bought fire engines, that also assist at numerous amounts of fires that are called upon. So I think with regards to the show that everybody puts in to assist all together, we are able to deal with those situations when they arise.
Thank you very much indeed. Really do appreciate the time this afternoon. Such an important conversation. Jonathan Martin is a community group firefighter, and of course the huge concern is that we could look at something like this happening again.